I mean, if you looked at how he was in Colombia, he looked wretched. He looked dreadful. He looked as if he should go and see a doctor straight away. He laughed some of the time, but other of the time he was in a terrible state.
Now,
The thing
like
that,
Harry is almost Meghan's spare. He's the
well,
heir to Meghan.
he's worse than that, actually. He's treated much worse than he was in the palace. At least he had a role and people would know what he could do. But here, nobody was really interested in him.
Angela Levin, Prince Harry's biographer, is here. Angela, major development in the whole story of Prince Harry's book Spare, his autobiography, which we know was so vile and contained so much hatred towards his brother, his father, his sister-in-law, his stepmom. We know that. But it has been presented this week that he has thrown the royals an olive branch by not writing any new information for the paperback version of the book that will come out later this year. What do you make of it, and do you think that's what Harry is doing?
Well, I have heard that the book is going to be published in the autumn
Yes.
in paperback, and that there's not going to be an extra chapter. Now, I don't know whether that is the publisher's decision or whether that's the person who wrote it for Harry. And I just got something to read to you what he said about writing with Harry. Is Mo Haringa. And he said one night, I was exasperated with Prince Harry. My head was pounding, my jaw was clenched. I started to raise my voice. He couldn't stand it. And he might have said, I'm not doing anymore. So there you have a book that is going to come out with the same things that were in the hardback. Now, he has earned 20 million from writing this book. It's absolutely extraordinary. And it was going to so many different countries, and they changed the name. It's got some titles now called In the Shadow or Reserve, all sorts of names like that, because they don't quite understand English version of Spare. Um, but you can say to the publisher, I really don't want it, and you can give back a bit of money, and then they don't do it. In fact, there obviously has been the question of why not doing it, because they usually do it within a year. And that hasn't happened. So this book is going to come out. It's going to hurt everybody just as much. And I think that it is terrible. It's also going to come out when the King and Queen are in Australia or about to come back. And Prince William is doing his was it
Earthshot Awards.
Earth
Earthshot
shots?
Awards, yeah.
Yes, sorry,
So do you
Earthshot.
do you think the date, because Harry always does this thing where he tries to overshadow his brother. We've seen it lots of times. Do you think this could have been a purposeful decision?
I don't think that would be the only decision, but I think if you're working out what a good day will be, both he and Meghan will try and do it on a day that affects the other family. William, Charles, Camilla. They try Catherine certainly, but she won't be doing very much for a while still. And I think that they like to do that, and I think that's really terrible. But there's one thing in the book, and I'm very keen to see if it is still there. It didn't get much publicity because it was so awful. And this part in the book was that when he rushed in to see his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, and she had just died, and Princess Anne said that he could go and see her, and so he did. And he looked at her, he lifted his face, and then he spoke about all the things about he felt about her. And I think it was so cruel to actually bring that out straight away. I mean, the respect that he should have shown his grandmother, who is supposed to have loved enormously. He had no arguments with her. It's a terrible thing to actually put into a book so invasive. And I'm just wondering when, if that's come out, he's got a bit of compassion in him that you don't start talking about that it came out within 4 months of her death. And I thought that actually it's a time when he should have kept quiet about
Oh, it
that.
was
You
so
don't have
revolting.
to call
So
out everything.
revolting.
Yeah.
He betrayed the Queen, the late Queen, in so many ways, though, because he also
Mm.
included details of their private conversations. I'm also looking at a couple of particular areas, Angela, to see if they come out. For
Ah,
me, the two areas that I'm looking at are his boasting about killing 20 members of the Taliban, because he's constantly moaning about his security, right? But the only thing that has really made him a massive security risk, Angela, and put his family at risk was that revelation in his book, which for life has now made him a target of the Taliban. So I'm interested to see if that stays in. And I'm also interested to see if the admissions of illegal drug taking stay in the book, because Angela, I know you've been researching it, you've been looking into it, you've been investigating it yourself, but there remains this court case in the US. And if Donald Trump becomes president and Prince Harry publishes a book again boasting of illegal drug use, then surely that puts his ability to stay in the US under some threat.
yeah, absolutely. I've always felt it's very strange that he did that. I know
Mm,
nothing about anybody military, um, absolutely nothing. But I did know and do know that it's very wrong to say how many of the enemies you have killed. You're asking for trouble. And I wonder why he did that. It hasn't helped himself. I don't know whether that was desperate or whether he was told that he should do it by the publisher, or that the lawyer who looked through the book didn't say, "Look, this is dangerous, take it out." I can't think why that didn't happen. And somebody did Meghan read it all? I mean, most people let their partner read their book. Did she not pick it up? She's quite alert about things like that. I would think even the ghostwriter said, "Look, Harry, this is really pushing it. You might find that this affects your life forever because they will wait to punish you back." What is it all about? I think it's very difficult, but I think there's something underneath the carpet with that. Why did he do it? Why did he listen to whoever it was? And why did they let him? I think that
mm.
was cruel as well.
Yeah, good point. Another development with Harry this week, he's got this role at BetterUp, which is this
Yes,
sort of odd organization
yes.
that's meant to boost people, I guess. But they're now launching a university which will offer degrees in life coaching online. So, what does this mean for Harry in his role at this firm? Are they now going to be using him to try and tout this university course?
Yeah. There's another course called Burnt Out, which for a ticket, any ticket is £1,200. I think that's pretty ghastly as well. Now, the thing is, I think if you want to help people who've got mental problems, mental health problems, you need to be over it yourself. I think
Yes.
it's very worrying for people who fear that they're not actually behaving or thinking or feeling right, that someone should come in who is not very confident that they will be better and tell you what to do. I don't know that that will happen with Harry. I mean, if you looked at how he was in Colombia, he looked wretched. He looked dreadful. He looked as if he should go and see a doctor straight away. He laughed some of the time, but other of the time he was in a terrible state. Now, can somebody like that, who doesn't have a degree, his only experience is himself, take over running things for other people? I mean, he has said that he said, I've had therapy for 4 years trying to heal myself. Now, I think that would put anyone off. there's no point in actually trying to do something for someone else when you're in that sort of state. He might mean well. I think you can say something to someone, over a cup of tea or talk to them, but I don't think you can do a proper course and tell people what to do when you haven't worked it out for yourself. It's like having a maths teacher who's never done maths.
Yes, very good point. Very good point. But the problem is, Angela, we know what this is about. Let's just be honest here. I know you're trying to be kind to him, but he doesn't want to help people, Angela. The role at BetterUp is about money. That's what
Yeah.
it's about, because it's looking increasingly likely that they're going to lose the $100 million Netflix deal when it runs out after the 5 years. They might be given some sort of consolation deal, but it's not going to be anywhere near that sort of money. It has been a disaster, their Hollywood career. Spotify's axed them. They became really good friends with the boss of Netflix and his wife to try and save their deal. But it's not going to happen, Angela. So what do you make of these Netflix rumors? And surely this is going to put the pressure on them to start making more money.
Yes, I think it's very obvious that the Netflix can't do that. You can't go on if you get
No.
nothing or it's boring. Now, the only time they made loads and loads of money was that dreadful six installment documentary where it was moaning throughout. And Meghan did that terrible curtsy mocking the Queen. But people were absolutely riveted by it, and it sold. It was very, very popular. But no one's interested in Harry's polo things. It seemed they had a book called Pearl, which was about a young girl who wanted to be strong and effective. And I think Meghan thought it would sounded just like her, but Netflix have got rid of that, and they're also not happy about what's happened with Meghan. I mean, she's tried to get a CEO to run her cooking business, but nobody wants to do it, apparently, it seems. She's tried to get cooks, but they don't like the fact that she muddles in because they're great cooks. She goes for the top, as we know, that's good. But they don't actually want to be told exactly what to do, the minute detail, because she's very particular about things like that. So she can't find that. And she's not got anywhere. I mean, I've got it down here that there's for her things that she wants to sell, like bird feeders and pet shampoo and letter openers and all sorts. They're stopped now because the US patents and trademark have to go absolutely through everything. It's very slow, it's very cautious, and she won't be able to get any further till next spring. So I think Netflix are fed up because it's going on for a very long time. They've spent money in her being all different sorts of places cooking, but they can't go anywhere now. They just have to wait, and they're fed up.
Yeah, it's
I
been
think
a
they've
disaster.
got lots of other things they can do. And the other thing is, yes, they've got several senior people there who know exactly how to make documentaries and stories and all that. That's what they do. But they find that Meghan doesn't want them to do it. She wants to do it herself because she believes that she really can do it best. And we know that's Meghan's always best. But she doesn't like the fact that people don't admire her beyond words and feel that she's so wonderful. But the fact is that people can see through it now and don't feel like that. And she should be much more modest instead of taking this high level, I'm so grand.
Indeed. No, she really should. And it's very sad, actually, Angela, that you think that the consequence, I guess, of the Colombia tour, which again was another disaster, it didn't really achieve anything. There were bad headlines in Colombia, there were bad headlines internationally. It was all just pretty bad, really. But you think that it has sort of exposed to the world just how wretched Harry looks and how unhappy he seems to be. And I agree. I agree. But first, I promised to talk to you on the show about products that are life-changing. This one's personal, but let me tell you guys, you're going to love it. And ladies, If you are looking for a present to treat your husband or boyfriend, this is a game changer. They will be so grateful to you. That's because men want our grooming routine to be a one and done deal. So the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your nether regions are over, thanks to my friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep you trimmed from 12 to 6. Today, let me talk to you about the Beard and Balls bundle, which features the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger. Now, I know when you say lawnmower, this is the type of thing you think of. But actually, I'm talking about a product that provides precision trimming for all areas, even the sensitive zones, that will get you manicured as that freshly cut grass. So I'm talking about a trimmer for the moneymaker, another for the boys downstairs. The trimmer gets it right the first time, being gentle on the skin in all your delicate places. With 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, you can choose between a precise trim or a smooth finish, and it's waterproof, so you can trim in the shower and not make a mess, which is perfect for those of us who appreciate efficiency. Next, let me tell you about the Beard Hedger. Whether you're going for a neat stubble or a full-on lumberjack look, it will keep you completely covered. There's a titanium-coated steel T-blade, 20 length options. You can achieve any style you want with just a twist of the zoom wheel. And just like the lawnmower, the Beard Hedger is also waterproof, so you can handle your beard grooming in the sink without worrying about water damage. It's got 60 minutes of runtime and LED charge indicator. You'll never be caught mid-trim with a dead battery. This is such a gentle product. I can guarantee you no more cuts. Plus, this will increase your confidence, actually. It really will. That is how good the product is. The really exciting news is today I can offer you 20% off and totally free shipping. I ordered some the other day. It comes very quickly, beautifully packaged. All you have to do is visit www.manscaped.com. Use the code Outspoken at the checkout. So once you've put all of your details in, then you use the Outspoken code and 20% comes off just like that. www.manscaped.com. No more juggling multiple tools or dealing with subpar results, just efficient, effective grooming wherever you need it for the premium grooming experience. Trust Manscaped.
There's one photo of her holding his hand, which they always do, and another holding his arm right down at his wrist. So it's very hard for him to move away and talk to someone else. She doesn't like him to talk to anyone else when she decides it's time to move on. It's not a polite way of waiting that your partner wants to speak to somebody. It's actually yanking them out. But also a terribly sad one was at the dinner. Yeah, here it is. And he's not on the big knobs table. He's with all the nobody's very interested in you lot table. There's a gap between the 2 tables. And there he is, just sitting there doing nothing. Once Meghan turns around and just touches that arm. But she's got all the leading people to her left. And that's it. I mean, Harry was a nobody there, absolute nobody. In the pictures, when there's lots of people, you could barely see him right at the back and maybe just his face. And I thought that was, this is what he's tried to avoid. He doesn't want to be the spare. He wants to be essential. He wants to do things. And Meghan is the one who's going to be the winner. But the thing is...
So it's now like Harry is almost Meghan's spare. He's the heir to Meghan.
He's worse than that, actually. He's treated much worse than he was in the palace. At least he had a role and people would know what he could do. But here, nobody was really interested in him. He needed to be there because you got the title, but otherwise you just don't. But where it got very scary, I mean, I'm sure you know that they didn't have any sound. So
yes, and the clips that they released, yeah.
Yeah.
So controlling.
Very, very controlling, because they don't like the press, you see, so this way they couldn't say anything. But the word slaves came out, and Harry was asked if he would apologize about the slaves. Now, this was absolutely extraordinary because, first of all, the slaves there were Spanish. It didn't have anything to do with the UK. And secondly, Queen Victoria's husband actually paid off, in a way, in 1840. all the amount of money that he felt was due to all the people who had been slaves. And so, we could say we're out of that as far as it goes. But if Harry, who has no power, he doesn't belong to the royal family now to say anything or to make a statement, he could say something which would then absolutely turn the royal family upside down. We can't
Mm,
risk that, not
no,
we. They can't
I
risk
know,
that. He
but
can't, because once you say these things,
he doesn't
what's going to
care.
happen?
He doesn't care, Angela. I actually think he wants to cause trouble now for the royal family. I really do. I
Okay.
do. I
I'm
do.
trying to be a little bit kind.
I mean, I think he does. Look, let's talk though about the actual royal family, the real royal family, because they are together in Balmoral. And the great news is that we caught sight of Catherine on the way to church. Although, before we get to Catherine, the big news is, Angela, William's beard. It's gone. Look, there he is, all fresh face. So this hope that some folk had that he was going to be able to keep his beard for public
Yes.
life. No, he listened to the late Queen and he got rid of it before he returned to duties.
Yes, it was obviously a holiday, wasn't it? A holiday thing that he did where he could be lazy and didn't have to shave himself every
But I
day.
liked it. I thought it looked good. But anyway, and I know he likes it. That's the thing. He likes having a beard.
Yes.
But positive news that Catherine was at church. Do you think?
Well, I think very positive news and very emotional news is that she did go up to Balmoral, and it's quite a long journey for her. But to spend time with the King and Queen shows very much that she's very happy with them, that she knew. Not least because King Charles has also having treatment for cancer, that she could say, "Oh, I'm really tired now. Would you mind if I go?" When the late Queen was there, you had to fit into all the time very nicely. Obviously, she wouldn't do it if someone's ill, that it could be embarrassing. But here, it's much more relaxed, and she can just say that. And I think she and the King, who get on extremely well, he absolutely adores her, and she loves him too. Um, that they can talk about these things and comfort each other, or just talk about it in a way that nobody else could understand, because you have to have it to understand it. And I think that that's very good. And the fact that she went to church as well, on Sunday, and with William and with Prince George in the back seat, very good boy, and they went to church. And I thought that she didn't have to do that, and the fact that she did was another step forward, I think. However tired it made her, she was there, and she was obviously moved by being there. And it gives us a lot of hope. It's a long time and it's difficult, but that was something that she obviously wanted to do. I didn't have to do it. And it's very, very nice for the family that they were all together.
And do you think Charles will have been telling Catherine, sorry, about his chickens? What's this about?
Well, yes, this is a fantastic story. Um, there's a new charity. I just have to look up the name. I can't. I'm hopeless at remembering names. I'll tell you it in a minute. But they got in touch with Charles last December to say, would he mind taking three chickens in Buckingham Palace? And he said, "Oh, I can take a lot more than that." So he's got 31 chickens. And the one who he liked best, he's called Henrietta. And so Henrietta has royal connections, was Henrietta Maria of France, was Queen Consort to Charles I from 1625 to 1649. And that's because it's a joint UK and French charity. And what it is that when the chickens stop giving eggs, they're just sent to the slaughterhouse. And that would actually make King Charles think, oh no, poor things. And so he will be keeping them until, and they can have a lot of time resting, a bit like horses, I think. But it seems rather strange and unusual.
I
And
love
he's,
that though.
he's going to, it's a lovely story, isn't it? He hasn't seen them yet because, of course, he's been away in Scotland, but they're all ready for him. And then are under no pressure. They don't have to provide eggs. They can just
What a
rest and
life.
roll around
What a
and eat
life.
and have a,
Are going to be the most
and have a great
spoiled
time.
chickens in the whole world, aren't they? But
Yes,
not so positive, Angela. This latest twist in the whole Prince Andrew, King Charles row over the Royal
yes,
Lodge and Windsor and the accommodation there.
yeah.
And now we've learned that Fergie actually owns a very expensive home, even though she's living in Royal Lodge. So what's going on there?
Well, yes, I think it might have been given to her by her daughters because she's not allowed to sell it without a written document from both daughters that she can do. Now, I think the amount was about just over 4 million, but it's only two bedroom and with a large living room. But it's not got anybody in it. Nobody's been seen in it, I believe, and I think that's rather odd and suggests that perhaps uh, Prince Andrew could go and live with her in that place, in that flat. But I can't see that. I think it would be
No.
very difficult for anyone to go from a place that has 30 rooms to go to one which has, two bedrooms and a sitting room. I can't understand that
Yeah,
really.
even though I'm
But
sure for 4 million, it's probably a very beautiful, very, very beautiful apartment, which I would happily live in. But I hear what you're saying. I hear
yeah.
what you're saying. And then this lovely news, Angela. Let's end in terms of the royals on something very nice and positive. Lady Louise, the daughter of Prince Edward and Sophie, following in the footsteps somehow of her grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. What's she doing?
Well, she's enjoying well, she wants to go into the armed forces and she wants to serve the king and country. Can you imagine that? It's absolutely a wonderful sight. And she's been in St Andrews and she's done a lot of army sort of things. And she'd very much like to do it. I mean, she's not finished her degree yet, but that's in English, but she's really enjoyed it. I mean, what she has done is that she's very close to the Queen, and she would like to continue what the Queen did. I mean, the Queen was the first woman who actually signed up to get
Yes, during World
into
War
the
Two.
army while the war was on. And she would like to carry on with that, which is absolutely amazing that somebody would want to do that in the royal family. You would never think of it, would you, for a word? And of course, also, she was very close to the late Prince Philip because they both loved horse riding and carriages. And she actually drove the coffin after his death. So she's very much embedded in the royal family, much loved, and works very hard. And we will have to see. It would be very happy if the king could know that it would carry on the Mountbatten line. You see, because she is so keen on all that. And I think that's very touching, isn't it? It's just
It's
a lovely
lovely.
thing to be very different
It
because you
is.
look at her, she's very beautiful
Well, she
and
looks
she's
like the
always
Queen. Actually, she's
modest.
she's quite exactly. She's quite classic looking, and I love the fact that the Queen, the late Queen, this is Queen Elizabeth II, was in the ATS, the Auxiliary Territorial Service. She joined, I think it was at the start of 1945, so quite near the end of the war. But I particularly love that because my grandmother was in the ATS as well, and she
Ah,
was very
lovely.
similar age to the late Queen, and
Ah,
grew up as a teenager during the war. And how amazing seeing all of that and thinking, no, as soon as I turn 18, I need to go and help my country. I thought that was just amazing. But Andrew, I want
yes,
to ask you about the story that's been in the news in the UK about the famous TV presenter Kirsty Allsopp actually
yeah.
being visited by government authorities because she's allowed her teenage sons to travel on their own around Europe. And I just wondered, as a mother previously of teenage sons, did you think this was an irresponsible move, or was it something that you agreed with her doing?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have three sons, but I mean, I think that you mustn't put them in cotton wool. I think
Yeah,
you
I
should do
agree.
things which they would find exciting, challenging, and that they would find that they can handle these things. And I think it's very good that he's nearly 16, the end of the month, he's 16, and he went with a friend who's 16. So these two boys, and it very exciting to do that. They can challenge. And today, everybody has mobiles and you can ring up and say if you're in trouble or difficulty, but you can't just keep children. I think the government in general thinks that everybody's A, stupid, and B, have got to be looked after because they're children. They don't know what's going on. But I think if that's how you treat children, that's how they'll be. But they have to be independent. They have to stand on their own two feet when they grow older. And that's the way to do it. It might be difficult. They might miss out turning up at some one-star hotel and it's closed. They have to work out how to get past
Exactly.
that.
And that's how
Um,
you learn. That's how
yes,
you learn. Some of my greatest experiences were turning up, at a hotel that apparently knew nothing of me, and,
yeah,
Paris, and I had no money and had to
yes.
work out where the heck I was going to stay. Although I will admit, Angela, because she will be listening, in that case, I did call my mother in New Zealand and say, Mum, what am I going to do? So I was a bit
I
pathetic,
tell you, but
wasn't
then
I?
you
I
do
was a bit
it and you
pathetic,
step
but
forward because you're the one who does it. But what's very silly is that they've sent around somebody because they feel that he's got to be looked after, one of these
oh,
adoptive
yeah,
people that they feel that
ludicrous.
they've got to, that they can't allow that and they need to find out.
Yeah,
And I
social
know why
services or
they,
something.
social services, yes. And why they do that is because they have to fill in so many things that they do, but they're very scared of going into many houses because if there is a man there, and often there isn't, and they scream and shout and terrify them, so they run away. But here they've got a middle class person with various amount of money, and they can give them a real telling off and look after them and turn up uninvited to check that they're being looked after. But it's absolute
Outrageous.
nonsense.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think it's
complete
outrageous. And
nonsense.
whoever complained, Angela, oh, totally
Well,
outrageous.
yeah, but the other thing is she shouldn't have put it up
Made
for
it so
everybody to
public.
see.
Well, that's the problem when you talk about your children as a celebrity, isn't it? You're sort of risking putting them in the public eye. But,
They should never
the,
do that.
the,
It's
the
nobody
world's
else's
gone mad.
business.
No, very good
Yes.
point. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.